session now. The SEMAT has conferences in essence in ICSI, International Conference of Software Engineering, and this meeting, very technical meetings. So this is the second time that we have this one-day workshop on SS in the OMG technical meeting. So we had one 2 years ago, right here in Berlin. The second time we have this conference in the OMG technical meeting. And we also have a conference called General Theory of Software Engineering, GTSE, every year in ICSI conference. We just had one in Italy, Florence, in May. So welcome to this conference. The one in ICSI is more theoretical, but this one is a totally practical thing. So the purpose of this workshop is to help you understand where SS can be used and go back to your office and start using it from tomorrow. That's the purpose here. Anyway, so there are many talks scheduled today. Let's go over it. I will give the first talk. It is titled Essence-Powered Scrum. And basically, I show you an approach to describe software engineering practice using Essence kernel language and take Scrum as an example of describing it using Essence language. The second, second talk will be only by Ian. I can see Ian here. Can I see it? Ivar is talking on his behalf, right?
So I'm going to speak for you.
Okay, yeah. Ian Spence and Rolly Stimson were going to present this, but they got involved in some customer project, I guess. So Ivar Jakobsen, who works for the same company, IGI, will present this talk titled Practices and Methods Realizing the SEMAT Vision. And the third talk will be by Richard Solly, the CEO of OMG, and he will talk about the essence of the industrial internet. And then I guess we'll have a coffee break. Yeah. And after the coffee break, the talk will be given by Ed Seymour, okay, from Red Hat. He's right there. And after that, Stan Nardin, yeah, from Fujitsu Services. Or, I forgot to tell the title of Ed's talk. The Ed will give a presentation with the title, We All Have Different Ways to Do Things, and that's okay. I think that's Ed's talk. And after that, Steve will give a talk titled Using Essence to Deliver Together Practical Experience at Fujitsu. Okay? And that talk will be followed by Rick, sitting right there, from Engine Solutions. It's a software company in Korea. And they are developing Essence support tool. And he will present his tool. Open source tool support for Essence. Probably he will do some demo of the tool in early beta version, I guess. You can take a look at what it does. I don't use this Apple computer, so I'm not good at manipulating this. And the next one is by Mira. She's not here yet. Oh, over there. I'm sorry, Jeremy is there. And Kajiko Metzen from KTH, the Royal Institute of Technology from Sweden. And she'll talk about minimal educational effort, maximal outcome. I guess it's about training assets to practitioners. And then we'll have lunch break. After the lunch, the first talk will be by Burkhard Perkins Colomb, back there from Munich Re, one of the largest reinsurance company in the world. He'll share his experience in using Essence, Essence in practice experiences from Munich Re. And then that talk will be followed by Vinicius Silva, he's not here yet, from Brazil. He works for the Ministry of Planning, Budgeting and Management, and he started using Essence in his job. And the title is Experiences with the Use of Essence in the Federal Government in Brazil. Okay, and the next one is talk by Harold Bott Lawson, titled Soft Engineering in the Systems Context. But unfortunately, Bott couldn't travel today here for some reasons, so he asked me to present it on his behalf. So I'll give the talk on his behalf. And then Arnie Berry from SINTEF, he will give a talk titled Extending Essence for Business and Service Engineering with the symphonical tools of support. Okay, that's the author together with Brian Elveseder, also from SINTEF. And then we'll have afternoon refreshments break, and we'll have a keynote by Eva Jakobsen, The Future of Software Engineering as Seen with SEMAT Glasses. Okay? And the talks will be ended by 4, and the next 1 hour, 4 to 5, we'll have panel discussions here. Okay, that's the agenda. Any questions about what we do today? No? Okay. Then we'll start the first talk, which happens to be mine. Ready to hear? Okay. Basically, I'll show you what I did to describe software engineering practice in SS language. Okay? I tried it with the Scrum because it's very popular today. I guess many of you are already know what SS is. But a few of you that I don't know, they're not acquainted with SS yet. So I'll give you your basics of SS in the beginning. Okay. The SS is a language. It's simply a language to write software engineering method. Okay? So far, what is used to write your software engineering method? English. or your own native language. Some use the STEM, language STEM notation, follow the method model, but it was not spread too much across the world. But there is a very simple language to describe methods, right methods. Okay? And the language include a kernel. A kernel is essential things you usually have to define when you write methods. And the kernel has three things: alpha, activity space, and competency. Okay? And as you know, this SS has become OMG standard. The first version, 1.0, was announced in November last year, so it's now de facto standard for software engineering method description language. Okay, let's look at the alpha. Alpha represents things to deal with in any software engineering project, and it has seven alphas we have. Okay, stakeholders, an opportunity we want to exploit by developing a software system, and requirements for the software system, and the software system itself, the work that needs to be done to develop the software system, and the team, and the way of working. So the seven things that are essentially dealt with in any software engineering endeavor. You can view these as sort of dimensions of the state of software engineering project. For example, I asked the guy in the software engineering project how his thing is going, how are things going. Okay, he says, our team is very productive, right? We developed this far, and you say something about the state. You know? But that sense it says you should talk about seven dimensions of state. You should talk about stakeholders. Are you satisfying stakeholders? The stakeholders saw what you have done so far? They liked it? Right? And you should talk about opportunities. What's the value you're creating? Is it a new value not perceived by anybody in the world before? Is it innovative? So it provides a multidimensional thinking when you talk about your project. Is it healthy? Is it progressing? Vis-a-vis yesterday, is making progress in terms of what? In terms of seven dimensions. Okay, those are alphas. The alpha is a strange name. Somebody came up with this term alpha, and it's an acronym of abstract level progress health attribute. This was Ivar and Bertrand Meyer.
But actually, it has changed too. So nowadays we don't even think about where it comes from. It's good enough to say alpha.
Just say alpha.
Yeah.
So, and each alpha has states, all right? A number of states that are defined in essence kernel for each alpha. So, for example, stakeholders, this dimension of state could be in recognized state, or represented state, or involved state, and so on. Okay. Now, a project can be in any of these states, among these states, with respect to stakeholders. All right, and it could be the case that 1 month ago I was in agreement with the stakeholders. Okay. And now I digressed back to representative state. They are no longer in agreement. They start fighting about the vision of the project. So it's not linear. It's just the number of set of states a project could be in at any moment. And the state can be jumping around over these states. All right? It has no sense of linearity here. So we have provided checkpoints for each state. Okay? These checkpoints are just to reference purpose only. You don't have to use that. You can create your own. You can modify them. It's just reference to start with. So the project naming recognized state at which stakeholder groups have been identified. Who are stakeholders? The actual people are identified, and key stakeholder groups are represented. They committed and they promise to participate, and they come to the meeting. Actually, they are represented, and responsibilities are well defined. Each stakeholder knows what they need to do to make this project succeed. Okay, those are checkpoints. So you can set up other checkpoints as you like. Okay. And your project may be recognized state a week ago, and today you find that you are now in represented state. So responsibilities have been agreed in addition to defined. All right? So the definitions of these states are cumulative. Okay? This one includes the things achieved here. So it shows some progress. Okay? But the project doesn't necessarily have to follow that order. You can go back and forth, back and forth, like that. But definition is progress. Right? Okay. So how's the project going? Because you say, oh, I guess it's going okay. Really? You're sure? Yeah. This is the first state. There are 7 dimensions, states, and you can tell in which state the project is along different dimensions. You can always get together and review your current state and see what you have moved from where to where do you want to go. You can set the target state a week after, 1 week after. Let's go here, and you can mark the, okay, let's go here, there. You can set the target, you can assess the current state, you can see the gap, and so on, using the very simple diagram. Now, alpha can be decomposed, of course, representing probably work breakdown structure of things you produce in the project. So there's a notation, aggregation notation. We call the sub-alphas are more detailed work breakdown of alpha. You can define any sub-alpha at any level to show the hierarchy of the composition. And alpha can be extended. The 7 alphas, each of them has certain properties defined in the standard specification. You can change the value of those attributes to create your own extended alpha, if you like. So it's a very flexible sort of framework you can modify to your needs. All these extension, modifications, and breakdown decomposition mechanisms are there in the standard specifications. And this is the notation to show extended alpha of certain alpha. Okay. Recall that our kernel has 3 things. Alpha, and activity space, and competency. So activity space, these are containers of activities actually performed in the project. Okay? We can associate actual activities planned in your project with activity spaces, and that relationship can be many to many. Okay? So there are 15 activity spaces, which are containers of actual activities you plan to do and you actually execute in your project. Alright? And there are relationships between activity space and alpha state. Okay? And in other words, precondition and postcondition of each activity spaces are suggested in terms of alpha states in the SS kernel. Again, this is just a reference. You can change it. Okay? It's just to provide some starting point. So this is how the relationship is defined currently in the OMG standard, version 101. All right? So for example, here, explore possibilities, activity space, work move, opportunity state from identified state to value established state. Okay? Stakeholder alpha from null to recognized state. This is from null to value established state. Okay? So there is some indication of the target states you can set up for each activity space. And as you map actual activities into activity spaces, this default relationship can be inherited. Okay? So that you can, the essence, provide you some suggestion of what should be the target states you pursue to achieve through each activities in your method. Okay? So here's some bigger picture of how things relate together. We talked about alpha, and we talked about alpha state, alpha. Each alpha has certain set of states. We talked about activity space, and on activity space may have a beginning alpha states and ending alpha states that are suggested in essence, kernel. All right, and this is the OMG standard part, kernel, and this is actual practices like Scrum. Right? So software engineering practices typically define roles, team roles, and activities that each role does, and to produce certain products. Right? If you take the Scrum as an example, product owner is supposed to do backlog creation activity to produce product backlog, like that, right? And then we map activities to activity space and work products to alphas, okay, and alpha states, right? And as you know, each activity space have a beginning state and ending state associated with it in the essence kernel. So an activity that belongs to a certain activity space can inherit the beginning and ending states for that activity. And that implies what should be in the work product, right? Very natural association between kernel elements and practice elements. So the practice can be easily mapped to kernel. Okay? And the role, this symbol I will explain in a minute, is a pattern in SS language. The role is represented using pattern anyway. Project roles can be mapped to the competencies, which you will see in a minute. Okay? So, this pattern, you see many patterns here, like here is a pattern, team role is a pattern. A pattern is nothing but a structure consisting of essence language elements.
Good.
Okay. Time dimension here. All right. So you can construct any complex concept using essence language element in the form of pattern. Okay. So for example, role is a pattern. It's simply association with competency and activity and indirectly of product. So you can say the role requires certain competency to do certain activities to produce or update certain products. So it's a composite concept. Anything can be described using pattern. All right. You will use a lot of patterns actually when you describe practices. And resources, this dotted line here, this dotted line, the dotted lines mean resources. So resources can be associated with any of the practice elements or kernel elements. And you can use tag to provide user-defined information to any of the elements here. Okay? And you can even define user-defined types to standardize some use of certain artifacts you define. You can define the behavior of certain elements in your way by defining user-defined types. So it's a very tailorable thing here, in a sense. It's there for you to tailor. Okay? So this shows the overall ontology of language. So language element is a superclass, like basic elements, extension element, resource, tag, which we mentioned so far, are all a subclass of language elements. Language elements can be grouped, so there can be element group, like kernel itself is an element group, and practice is a group, and method is a larger group, and so on. Okay? There's a very generic definition of SS language. So, how you construct method? There may be hundreds of thousands of methods actually defined and used in the world. Every company, every division, every team may have their own method defined. Right? But if you look at repeatably usable, widely accepted, some pattern of the way of working in software engineering, if we call it practice, there are about 200 to 300 practices, including use case analysis, Scrum, XP. You can talk in different granularity level, but they are repeatably applicable in different projects. So there are practices, and these practices can be described through this mapping, which I have shown you so far, using SS language and kernel. And then you can compose the method by assembling practices. Okay? And one good thing of representing practices using SS kernel is that since all the practices are described in the same language, these become readily comparable. You can see overlaps, gaps, conflicts between Scrum and Kanban, Scrum and XP, Scrum and Agile modeling. Okay, there are a lot of overlaps, as you know, but if you describe this in SS kernel and language, you see where they map to the same thing, and there are redundancy there, then you have to choose one over the other or do some merger activity to make it consistent and so on. So it's a lot easier to manage your method. 0 minutes left. The one thing is I give presentation for bot, right? Because I don't know much about bot stuff, so it's going to be very short. So I can use some more time. Since bot stuff is very short.
But
It's not a lot though.
we have Richard coming, and he has
All right.
eaten time.
10 seconds. All right, I'll fly now. So there is some relationship you can see here. So practice can be mapped to kernel, as I said. Basically, what products to alpha, activity space, and role to competency. All right? And as we mentioned a little bit, as you get state transition suggested in the SS, right? So, and then as I said, there can be mapped to the competencies defined in SS. So here is how I describe practices using SS. So first thing, I build ontology of the practice, okay, and then build a glossary of key terms in the practice, and classify these terms into work products, roles, and so on, and then map this to SS kernel. And as you do that, you may find need to define some sub-elements, change some properties, put some tags, so you extend the kernel itself to make it usefully represent your practice elements, okay? So here is Scrum, probably all of you know pretty well about Scrum, and this is the glossary, all based on the Scrum guide written by Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schreiber. This is ontology using a class diagram, and then I map all these work products to alpha, and all these activities to activity space. Okay? And some complex constructs like Scrum team and sprint, I define it as a pattern. Okay? And then I show state transition suggested for different activities in Scrum. And I can illustrate that in this canvas, but how the state is changed according to different activities in Scrum. And I can imagine making up such a card for each work product, and I can show you the alpha state transitions for each Scrum activities here, Scrum activities, how alpha state should move. You can tailor this to fit your own situation. You can define some handy card for activities in your practice. Actually, you'll see some demo of the tool by Rick today, and they are sort of developing a sense of tool as well as developing some process orchestration capability so that you can define the workflow. So here is a workflow of Scrum, easily set up using a tool, and then if you click on activity, you see a card pop up, and they say, well, you should fulfill, and what are the work products related, what are the checkpoints to make sure that I realize the goal state and so on. It can be pop up in a handy card. And if you're not sure about the work product, and then you click it, now the work product card pop up and give you all the information about assets provided sort of state to users. Okay?
Jim, you might say a little bit more about this after lunch in your session when you have the thought then.
You can
come back to it.
take it but it's over now.
Who's next after this?
It's Ivar, and then we should just come in this. We'll give it time to Ivar.
Just 1 minute. To distribute the I'll finish. It's the last, second to last or third to last, I don't know. Written here to last. Okay. How much more minutes?
You have 10 minutes over time.
10 minutes over. The last thing I'm showing you is how you merge different practices. All right, this is the one we have just seen, Scrum method. Well, Scrum doesn't say anything about modeling, but in many projects they wanted to modeling, so we incorporate agile modeling practice into the Scrum practice. Okay, so there are some work products and alphas and activities related to the same set of activity spaces. So they are all merging into the same set of alphas and activity spaces. Kernel elements covered by Scrum are these. But once you add agile modeling, then you add more features to that. And even still, these are empty now. So how you operate the system after put into production. So you may add DevOps there. There's not much about how to plan the market and the marketing, product management stuff before the owner start writing the specification. So SPM can be added here. So you can see the whole map and you can design the end-to-end method from marketing, product planning, all the way down to operation and scrapping, whole picture. And it is easy to merge these practices together. This is the last page. The conclusion is you can use as a kernel to describe practices, merge them into method, and monitor the project based on the essence of power method. And you can adaptively determine your project goals and activities pretty much every day. And in daily Scrum, you will do these things and make the choice of next action based on the understanding of first thing. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the delay. I started a little later, but you have to count that. But then, the amount of time spent is not too much. Thank you very much for listening.